Hello, YouTube. How you doing? It's me, Mr. J, and here I am in the lovely Champagne Dreams Productions home office. I don't come live from here very often. I'm still in my jammies. It is 4:41 p.m. Central Standard Time on a Sunday, and I am still in my jammies, which is exactly how I like it. I know that there's been like crazy weather everywhere. We are having it too in North Dakota. We're not having a ton of snow or anything because it is like 20 degrees below zero, feels like negative 35. It's ridiculous. You'll have to excuse me. So I've just been working on home projects this weekend. So if I'm a little bit like, I have water. If I'm a little bit stuffy, I've been stirring up a lot of dust in my house. So hello, Mama Champagne. Even when I clean and organize, one of the last things I ever do is dust things. I don't like it. I don't like to do it. I don't like to dust. And so then when I get in these cleaning urges, then like the dust just sort of swirls around me. So I do have to venture out of the house tonight. I do have my Nerd Herd, which is my D&D group that'll happen at 6:30, so in a little less than 2 hours. So that will come on for an hour and we'll have a little chat and kind of hang out, and I'll show off my Pac-Man jammies. My favorite. So this is a long nightshirt, and then I have matching pants if I want to feel extra snazzy. I also have Pac-Man pants that go with this. So very exciting. So how's everybody doing? How's your Sunday? How's your weekend going? The world is crazy, and so we're going to talk a little bit. I'm not going to go too deep into what's going on in Minnesota. I live right next door to Minnesota. I know a lot of people in Minnesota. I have family in Minnesota. And so I am not feeling good about the world in general. And so we're going to talk a little bit about government politics stuff in this. But we're also going to talk about some like silly, frivolous things. So if people come in, if you want to join in the chat, you're welcome to do that. Replay crew, you rock. Please let me know your thoughts and your feelings as you're listening to this in the comments box below. And I have been loving the vertical lives. I've been getting used to them. YouTube still does funky things. And one of the reasons why I decided to do this one on my desktop rather than setting up my phone here in my office is because I don't have the option when I set it up on my phone to have the chat replay. I only have that option when I am doing a desktop like webcam live. So I don't know why that is. I don't know why it doesn't have the chat replay. I don't know what the difference is. But I thought for this one, since we might have some discussion, I wanted to make sure we had the chat replay. Maybe nobody but Mama Champagne will stop by and it won't matter. But I wanted to make sure we had the chat replay. And Mama Champagne may have some brilliant thoughts as well. Because I wanted to talk about the idea of truth. Because there's been a lot of things, some very light, some very heavy, related to the idea of truth and like, what does truth even mean anymore? And I just was interested in that because I was thinking a lot about what kind of kicked this off on kind of the lighter side was, so some people may know, if you follow like drag race stuff, or even if you know some of the like drag race queens and stuff. Sorry, I'm going to be very snorty today. It's all the dust. I can feel it in my brain. But if you follow that, Ginger Minj, so she won the last iteration of All Stars. I can't even keep up. 11, 12. I would love to see like a whole month-long season of RuPaul's Drag Peace and Quiet, because they're launching new franchises and new seasons every 15 minutes. It's absolutely ridiculous. But so Ginger Minj won and there's all kinds of like, there's always conspiracy theory. This is why I never really liked pageants, and this is why I still don't like pageants, is because everybody who enters a pageant is convinced that they won the pageant before it even started, before they see anybody else's things. No matter what the criteria is, no matter what it is, everybody is convinced that they won. And so we used to do at the I-Beam we did this dumb pageant called the Miss Moorhead pageant because it was in Moorhead, Minnesota. But you couldn't do Miss Moorhead because that's part of the USA system or whatever. So it was the Miss Moorhead pageant. Yuck, yuck, yuck. And for those people who act like, there are some drag queens who will be like, if you don't have a title, then you're not a real performer. You're not a professional performer. Well, I was Miss Moorhead 2004, so you can eat a dick. And you can eat a dick because some of these pageants, like, here's the thing. Here's what, when people get all snooty about that, ask them about where they got their like lowest level pageant. Because a lot of these preliminaries and things, It's all just a money generation machine. It's all just a big money generation machine. And like, I know somebody who got real into pageants for a while and was real snooty about people who had titles or didn't have titles. And the first pageant that she won that gave her her title, that gave her her professional standing or whatever, there were two people in it. It was her and somebody else. And I was like, if you can win a pageant with a coin toss, I don't think you need to be telling anybody else what professional is. Thank you. And so there's just some of that. And so there's always like, everybody's always convinced when they don't win that it was rigged. It was always going to go for this person, blah, 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 whatever it is. So everybody's convinced that Ginger Minj, it was like fixed for her. Hello, Dawn. How's it going? So everybody's all mad about Ginger Minj. And so now Ginger Minj is like making the podcast tour. She's doing what you do when you are part of that World of Wonder content generation meat grinder, is you just go and do podcasts and do appearances and do blah, 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 because then you're going to go on tour and then blah, blah, blah. It's all this. When I do my like drag video, we're going to talk a lot about, the whole idea of like what RuPaul's Drag Race has done to drag. And I think it's a mixed bag. I don't think it's all good. I don't think it's all bad. But so she's doing all the like things that you do. She's doing the rounds or whatever. And a lot of people are just like coming straight out and being like, she's lying about things. Like she's lying about things. And so people will say like, oh, we didn't have that conversation, or that didn't happen. Because she, you know, there were things like she said that Cynthia Erivo did the like, wow, like when she was on Drag Race, that she did the whole like, whatever, I guess is part of it. I don't really watch Drag Race. I've watched some of it. I do tend to like the all-star seasons more than other seasons, for reasons we'll talk about in another video. But so there are all kinds of things. And then she was talking about conversations that she was having with people. And apparently she's always said like, Katya is my best friend, when they were on All Stars together. Like, now I have to send my best friend home. And Katya is always just like, what are you talking about? Like, what's going on? And I had to laugh, but I saw, and I wish I could remember what it was, but I saw this, there was some other podcast or something that was going on. I swear to God, podcasts, white people, I'm talking to you right now, white people, can we stop with the podcasts? I don't know what it is that like, if two white people are in a room together, like a podcast just manifests. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it happens, but if it could stop, please, for the love of Christ, can we stop with all the podcasting? But so there was some other podcast and they were talking to some other queen. And she was saying like, because they were talking about how she was like naming all these people and like she had all this stuff. There was this beef with her and Bob the drag queen, who I like. And so people were trying to like figure out, okay, what's true, what's not true. And like on this other podcast, I think it might have been The Bald and the Beautiful, and I think Trixie wasn't there, so maybe it was Katya and some other guest. I think, again, there's so many, I can't keep track. And but they were talking about, and so then the queen was like, well, if you don't involve other people, then go off. If you're embellishing a story because it's, to make it more interesting, to make it more TV friendly, all that kind of stuff, then go off. Like, she's running into trouble because she's bringing in Bob and Katya and all these other people. And I thought about that, and I was thinking about what I do. So I am a drag performer, and I also host a lot of the shows that I do, especially like down in Bismarck. I'm the MC. And so what I do, it's very similar to stand-up comedy. I never say that I'm like a stand-up comedian, because I do provide a lot of my own material, but I also will borrow material from comedians, or I'll rewrite it a little bit to make it more appropriate. And I was thinking about this story that I tell. So it's so funny. And Mama Champagne, it's funny that you're here, because I don't know if you've been at a show where I've told this story or whatever, but it was about the first time I ever had a pot cookie. And so it was my friend Liz, who has since passed away. Rest in peace, Liz. Love her. But anytime I ran into Liz, it was always a party. And I remember we were downtown, and I was in this pink zebra dress that I had made. It was this long pink gown that was ruched up the front, and it was white and pink zebra, and it had a mint green ruffle. And that was the photo shoot that Miranda Rowan from Rowan Photography and I did for the launch of the World of Champagne. So my website that's been up since 2012, I think, 2012. So 14 years this year. That was when we were doing the photo shoot for that. And as we were leaving, we had gone to all these places downtown, like alleys and little places, and we ended at Level 10, which is this like martini bar. And there was some like art walk or something that was happening downtown Grand Forks, and so they were having like $3 martinis. So we had some $3 martinis. And then as we were going back to our cars, then not great after $3 martinis, but we weren't like tanked or whatever, but still probably the great life choices. But we ran into my friend Liz, and she's like, "Do you want a pot cookie?" And I thought she said, "Do you want a hot cookie?" And I was like, "Yeah, who doesn't? I mean, girl, I'm fluffy, I'm fabulous, I'm voluptuous. What do you mean, do I want a cookie? Of course I want a cookie." And I didn't, so it wasn't a hot cookie, it was a pot cookie. And so she gave me a pot cookie. Now, as somebody who had never tried an edible before, certainly had partaken in the Mary Jane in the past, but didn't know anything. I knew that like that was a thing that people did, that they, infused butter and baked and did all this kind of stuff. Had no idea. Nobody told me that you're supposed to eat like a quarter of the cookie, because it was a big fucking cookie. And so like you're supposed to eat like a bit of the cookie and then wait for a while and see how you feel. I mean, you can't give a big girl a cookie, and I'm not going to go home and just like Cookie Monster that shit into my face. So I went and had the cookie or whatever. And so then I and I was already, and so then I start texting people, and I'm like, it's not even 9 p.m. and I'm already white girl wasted because I'd had martinis, and now I'm having a pot cookie. And so I'm at home, and I'm just like, woo, like party time. And it was so dumb. And this was for the launch of my website. So it was after I got divorced. I was still in the house that we had lived in, but and so I hadn't, this was still fairly fresh. This is maybe like 8 months later, 7 months later, something like that. So then there's this whole long story, but basically like I had texted people to like, haha. And my friend Jared was like, "Are you okay? Do you need anything? I'm bringing salsa." And I was like, "Okay." And so then he came, and like I had the munchies, and we did the whole thing. And then we watched a cartoon that just confused me. I can't remember what it's called, but it used to be on Adult Swim. And it was like where all these demons are trying to like get jobs. So it's like these people who are helping demons get jobs in the regular world. It didn't make a lot of sense to me, and I kept asking questions, and I could not figure it out or whatever. And then like I ate all the salsa or whatever, and then at the end of the night I was like, I was like, oh, I should get back out there, I'm feeling a little frisky. Well, when you're married for 7 years, it turns out you don't really have a black book anymore. That's not really a thing. And so I had one phone number in my phone, and it was this guy named John, and who wasn't, I used to call him Boring John. I'm so sorry. I don't think he'll ever see this. I don't know he's scattered to the wind. I don't know what's happened, but before I met my ex-husband, like we used to hook up every once in a while. He was kind of boring, but he was reliable. So, so I was like, oh, I was going to text him. And I had this janky phone at the time because I'm a late adopter with like phone technology. And so I was the last person in the world to get like a smartphone and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going through, and so I like am going to text John. And so I'm like scrolling, and I'm scrolling and scrolling to find John. And what I was doing when I thought I was scrolling is I was checking off every name in the J's until I got to John. So then I started sending these like thirsty text messages. Like one would be like really sort of risque and like, you should come over, blah, 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 blah. And then I would be embarrassed, and I'd be like, so then I would send a message where I'd be like, I mean, just like if you wanted to, I'm just being playful, haha, like LOL, lots of laughing emojis. And then like, but then I was like, what if he thinks I don't want to? And so then I would text again, and then so it went back and forth, and it was a series of like 7 or 8 text messages, and all of these kinds of things. And then eventually, and I never got a response, and I don't know if he changed his number or whatever, and I don't know how many contacts I had in anyway. But so I sent this group of texts, and then promptly fell asleep. Like, was so tired and like out of it and whatever. So just like fell asleep. And then In the morning, the only text back that I got, everybody was like, it was so like gave me such grace and didn't even respond, except for my friend Jane, who was like this 60-year-old lesbian. And she just texted back and she's like, girl, you got to quit drinking. And I was like, you said it, Jane. And so that's the whole thing. So that's a funny story, right? Like, but when I tell that at drag shows, and the reason why this is funny is because when I tell it at drag shows, I always remind people as well that if you don't know, my mother's first name is Jeannie, spelled with a J. Now, in the real world, I have her in my phone as mom because I'm not a sociopath. Like, I think it's weird when people just call, unless you've got like some estrangement where it like makes sense. People who just like call their parents by their first names, I find it weird and off-putting. There's something creepy about that. So she's in my phone as mom. So she didn't get all of these things. I don't even know if she had a cell phone at the time. Like I said, this is way back in 2012. But when I tell that story at shows, I'll always like tell them like my mother's name is Jeannie with a J. Because it makes the story funnier. It makes the story funnier, this idea that like I would have also sent all these texts to my mom. And so that's something where it's like it's based in truth, it's authentic to the spirit of the story, and then I've added things to it to kind of like give the audience a little something extra to kind of. And so it is kind of that idea of like bending the truth when it makes a better story. And if you're not like involving other people in like a drama sort of way, like, is that okay? Like for somebody, and that's the question I guess that I have for people is, you know, is that knowing that little peek behind the curtain, do you still feel that performer, if you saw a performer that was like maybe embellishing stories like a little bit for comedy or for whatever, like, is that still authenticity? Like, is that still, because it's one of those things is like at a show, I'm just there to like make people laugh and like introduce the performers and all that kind of stuff. And so it makes it a better story. And so for me, I'm like that. So then I'm like, okay, I feel differently. Because at first with Ginger Minj, I was like, what is she doing? Why is she doing all this stuff? Why is she doing the most? And then I was like, oh, maybe it's just some of that. Maybe it's still like taking the truth and making it a little bit more dramatic. Because I mean, she's part of a reality TV show that she has a career because she has learned how to make TV. And so maybe with these stories, she thinks she's making good TV or making good podcast or making whatever. And so that's why she's doing it. Now, the problem is because she's involving other people who were there and who were like part of this, who are saying like that didn't happen at all. And then beefing with them when they contradict her version of events, which is insane. Like it's going to, if you're going to embellish things that like you have control over that other people can't. Like nobody else saw my phone except for me and the people who got the text messages, but they don't necessarily clock everybody who's on there, right? So like that story, there's no harm, no foul. But I find that interesting. And so I think we're living in this weird, I mean, honestly, it's so stupid, but I really think that like the first time Kellyanne Conway in the first Trump administration, that Trumpster fire, the first time she started talking about alternative facts, I think something shifted in the world. I think there's something now where like, and now with AI, what is real anymore? What is truth anymore? Because I constantly have people send me reels and stuff. And some of them, I've gotten better at being able to spot a lot of them. But like people will send those like trail cam videos or like weird videos from inside somebody's bedroom and like a deer just like jumps in, breaks the glass and jumps in through the window and jumps all over the bed and all over the person and then just runs back out again. And it's like, and there are people who like see those and they don't understand that they're not real. And I'm just like, that's not real. Like, can't you, like, it doesn't really obey the laws of physics. And now with the winter and all these cold weather things, like people are sharing all of these, there's a lot of videos of like cars that are sliding on ice down a hill and like running into each other. But if you look at like the cars, like suddenly a car will just like disappear and they'll be like, oh my God, be careful out there and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, you do realize that's not true. Like, yes, there are things like that that happen, and there are videos out there of like cars sliding on ice and all this kind of stuff. But now with all this like AI stuff, and I have shared like some stuff that's not real or like, but for me it's a little bit different. So I'll share like every once in a while there'll be, you know, they have those stories, and so then there's like a story of like this guy waited by the, you know, he had a farm in Texas and he kept seeing his fence was getting cut, and then one day he saw this man and his daughter and they were almost dead, so he left out water and he started like leaving out water and doing all this kind of stuff, and people will come out and they'll be like, well, that didn't happen, that's not actually true, that's not. And it's like, here's the thing, I don't, for things like that, I don't need it to be true. I don't need that to be absolutely correct, because the point of a story like that is the theme or the meaning behind it, of that we should be kinder to people, that we should be, you know, thinking about other people in our world as human beings. Not that I'm trying to like, I'm not creating a documentary. My Facebook page is not National Geographic. Like, that's not what we're doing here. And so I don't, so like some of those things, and especially things about Republicans where it'll be like, you know, something like it'll be a picture and it's talking about a person, and like it's not, and Angie will get me all that. Angie will be like, that actually is not true, like that's actually AI generated, and like those are the kinds of things where I'm like, that's, I don't care. Like if we're talking about Republicans and we're talking about all that kind of shit, some of that stuff I don't care if it's real, because as we've seen, I've been posting on Facebook my every accusation is a confession series, and it's like it's always them. It's always them that are doing that kind of shit and getting caught and blaming everybody else. And so I'm like, the spirit of it is true, even if like the actual thing is not true. Let's see. Hello, Grace. How are you doing? Nice to see you. Yeah, AI is wild. I think it doesn't affect anyone negatively. It's okay. And alternative facts have bugged the crowd. Yeah, that alternative facts doesn't affect any. Yes, if it doesn't affect anyone negatively, that's the thing. It's like if you're sharing something for the spirit of the thing, where it's not like there's nothing crucial. It's not like a call to action of like, go to this place and do this thing and counter this and all that kind of stuff. If you're putting it out there as like a variation on a theme, I think that's fine. Where it's a problem is our government now is like, has lost control of the truth. I mean, we're living in this weird reality where the government is openly, objectively lying to us. All this stuff with ICE in Minnesota and all of the justifications around the shootings of Renee Good and this Jeffrey Pretty. I don't know if it's Pretty or Pretty, the guy who was just shot yesterday, I think, or the day before, but I think yesterday. Just like all this kind of stuff about how he came in brandishing a weapon. And it's like, did they forget that we live in the time of cell phones? And like, there are multiple videos from multiple angles showing the same thing, that he had one hand free that he was using to cover his face from the pepper spray, and one hand had his cell phone because he was recording. Hello, CJ, how's it going? And so like it is, and people keep posting that quote from George Orwell of like, it's not called the government, but they're like, is it the establishment told you not to believe the evidence you saw with your eyes, like things like that. And that's what they're trying to do. It's like, we can see this, and the maggots will defend it and will say, oh, well, there's all this kind of stuff. And it's infuriating when these same maggots, when Kyle Rittenhouse, who was a minor, showed up with a semi-automatic weapon and shot 3 people, they cheered it. They were like, Second Amendment, he was a hero, all this kind of stuff. And then this guy, who is a grown-ass man who has a permit to carry a weapon legally, and like they got the gun off of him before they shot him. Like you can see in the video that he doesn't have the gun in his possession when they shot him. It is absolutely ridiculous. And I thought, I have to say, I was kind of surprised, because I thought this is going to be the moment where the NRA shows their ass, because the NRA, this is literally the kind of case that the NRA should be like championing, of this guy had his permit, had a right to carry that weapon, and then was executed by government thugs. And the NRA actually did put out a statement. I mean, they need to be a little bit stronger on that, but where they said, like, this is not okay. They said this is not, and I think that somebody in California had made some statement about that. This is egregious. Like this was, you should never have happened. It's just insane. Like these people, the way that they try to justify that, but I'm not going to go too far into that because I'll just get like enraged. But just the like lack of truthfulness. Yeah, we're being told not to believe what we see. It absolutely makes me livid. Gnome and Bovino saying essentially the exact same thing. Yeah, just the way that they will just blatantly lie to your faces. Like that's not to my face because I refuse to watch them. I refuse to watch anything. I do that TikTok sound. Christy Gnome is a bird-legged hoe. Christy Gnome is a bird-legged hoe. That's one of my favorite things right now is just the Christy Gnome is a bird-legged hoe. And there's all these like reels where they've put Christy Gnome's head on these birds. And I think they're AI generated, like where their birds are dancing around, and just like that makes me laugh. But yeah, these people are crazy, like crazy. And not even crazy because I think it is on purpose. And I think that they know what they're doing. I mean, this whole regime is defined by ineptitude, by people who are not up for the task of the jobs that they were given. But I also think that some of it is not just stupidity or insanity. I think some of it is like calculated insanity. I think because they don't really understand how all of the like overall systems and things work, and because they hate education, there's some of this stuff where it's like, we're going down a pretty dark, ugly path, but also like at some point the ride is gonna like right itself, right? Like this isn't gonna go on forever. Who knows? I mean, when I think about how long World War II went on, I hope that isn't our future. I hope we don't have like more than a decade of this bullshit. But all this kind of stuff, eventually it came to an end. And then so all these people who are like, oh, we have absolute immunity. The SS and the Gestapo had absolute immunity in Germany until Hitler wasn't in power. And then we had the Nuremberg trials, and then they were all executed. So those people should that's when you don't prioritize education, then you don't understand some of these things of like all these claims that you're making. Like, yeah, you may get away with some things for a while, but not forever. And so I don't know, like, what role does truth even play in our lives anymore? Because all this stuff with AI, where AI is generating all this slop. And I also, as a separate AI, I know this video is not just about AI or whatever, but like AI in terms of just like, some of them are hard to spot. Some of them are very easy to spot because they don't do very well at producing, especially the longer a clip gets. AI is really good in short bursts. So like 3 seconds. If you do a clip that's just 3 seconds, or you do a series of clips that are different clips that are stitched together, sometimes that's a little bit easier. But like after 3 seconds, things really start to get weird. But the thing with AI is that it's not going anywhere. You need to understand that like it's going to burst. It's a bubble that's going to burst. And I pray for its downfall every single day. But I also know that a whole bunch of rich white people are really invested in this and are really like pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And so like, as with everything else, I sometimes think that we need to be smarter in terms of how we push back against AI, because I have some friends who are just like, no AI for anything ever in any, and it's like, well, first of all, that's never going to happen. This is one of those like revolutions in technology that there's going to be some awkward points. There's going to be some like growing pains and stuff, but it's not going away. It's not like it's going to go away entirely. The problem we're having now is that all of these rich people who are so invested in this and putting so much money behind it, trying to like win the AI race, is because they don't really know what it does well yet. And they haven't figured that out. And so they're trying to do everything with it until they figure out what it's good at. So eventually they'll get that down. And because it is really good for different kinds of like organizing tasks and things like that. And for businesses that are always trying to, increase productivity and efficiency and all this kind of shit. And you know what? Like, yes, that's going to lead to job loss. But this is not the only time that businesses have eliminated jobs because they were creating efficiency through some sort of technology. Yes, Don, I hear you. It is absolutely overwhelming. Yeah, I was just following orders didn't hold up during the trial. Yeah, because those orders were wrong. And like people now are actively trying to tell you, like, you can defy orders that are not constitutional, that are not, correct. And so it's just like all this AI stuff is like, it's not going to go away. It's not going to completely disappear. And there's some stuff like I get it because I know a lot of people who are independent artists and I get the frustration, but I think that it's part of the changing landscape. And I think that, again, for everybody, I think the way that you push back against AI, it has to make sense. Because here's the thing. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again, is that like some of these uses of AI that people are doing, it's not the battle that's worth, it's not the hill you want to die on, right? Like it's not the battle that's worth sacrificing everything for. Because there are some people, like people who use those like profile generators, like the profile pic generators and stuff, or use AI to make them, look like they appear in this century or this kind of type of costume. Hey, Alex, how's it going? Those kind of people, we're not going to buy art from an artist to do that, right? And I think that like artists kind of balk against it, and I get it because I think it is unfortunate and it's sometimes kind of gross, is that there is such a thing now. We live in a world where just like fast fashion and like cheap electronics and everything, there is a planned obsolescence that's built into everything, including art. When it comes to, if you're, trying to be a social media person, a content creator, an influencer, whatever title you prefer, whatever kind of thing, you have to feed the beast. You have to feed the algorithm. You have to feed the platforms on these like specific kinds of things. And so if you can get an AI helper that's going to, chop up your videos to help you make, shorts and reels and things for all the different platforms to make it easier, that's something that people are going to use. And like sometimes for like Instagram, sometimes you just need an Instagram post that you can put up and people are going to forget about it in a day. Right? Like people are going to forget about it. So nobody's going to pay somebody to make like a custom piece of artwork, no matter how inexpensive your artwork is, for every one of those posts, right? Like I have sometimes like, there were a couple of those like apps and things where I put in my pictures and I generated some things. And I also buy art from people. And I treat the art that I buy from people differently. And so sometimes I just need something to put up on a Tuesday. And so am I going to spend 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, $100 for a custom piece of art that I'm just going to like put up for that day? No, of course I'm not. If I'm going to buy a piece of art, then I want to make sure that I can display it in my house, or if it's digital, that I can put it like on a website in a gallery or something that's going to like stick around. And so there is a sort of, I hate it, but there is a disposability to art, to some kinds of art, that is part of the cultural landscape that we're in, and acting like that's not here. And also, I've said this before, there's one specific person on Instagram that really just gets to me because they are so adamant and they're so nasty to people about no AI ever for any kind of reason or whatever. And like every time anybody posts anything that, like, even if they found it on the internet, they didn't even generate it, they just found it somewhere, like this person will launch into their comments and like read them down and unfollow them and do all this kind of stuff. You're destroying everything, you're stealing from everybody, people are losing jobs, you're taking money out of my hand, you're taking food out of my mouth. This person, their artwork is like big titty anime girls doing basically like PG-13 related tentacle porn stuff. So not fully explicit, but like there's lots of tentacles, there's a lot of big titty anime girls. You didn't lose a job to anybody, my dear sweet summer child. These people who just want a cute like photo of themselves, You didn't lose a job to anybody. Nobody took money out of your hand, no, because nobody is looking for that. Hello, Janet. Nice to see you. Yeah, I bet this person uses AI. It's also built into everything, which is kind of an annoyance, and it's hard to get away from. Everybody, like the new Alexa voice, I cannot stand it. I absolutely hate it. I finally got it set back to, if you're trying to get it back to basically the original Alexa voice, if you've got the new updated Alexa voice, Feminine 2 Relaxed is basically the old version of the Alexa voice. Because all of a sudden she changed and it was weird. And now she talks back to you. So I've gotten in the habit. I just live in a world where someday I'm like, we'll probably have robot overlords, so I should be nice to them now. So like when I ask Alexa something, I'll be like, Alexa, what's the weather? And then I'll be like, thank you. Afterwards, I'll just say thank you. And then now if she talks back, she'll be like, you're welcome. It's really cold, so make sure you dress it. And I'm like, bitch, we're not friends. We're not friends. I was just trying to say thank you to be polite. You don't have to talk back. You don't have to. We are not friends. It's creepy. It's weird. I don't like it. And it's the AI powered assistant, and it's terrible, and I hate it. And yeah, so that's where we are. So yeah, the big titty anime guy. I'm just like, dude, really? You're gonna argue with this person that like you lost money on because they made a like AI generated profile? Because here's the thing, like, and I'm on a budget, right? Like when I pay for art from artists, I have to be smart about that. I can't just like every day buy a new custom piece and a new custom piece and a new custom piece. So I got to make sure, am I going to get some mileage out of it? Am I going to get my money's worth? Can I have it in my, because some of it's digital. So I can't, unless I print it out because it's 1997 and put it in a frame. Like some of it I can't even display in my house because it's all just a digital file. So can I like use it on my calendars? Can I do all these different kinds of things? And sometimes I just need, I'm in a room that doesn't have an Alexa speaker and I have the door closed. So I'm hoping she's not listening, but we never know. She's everywhere. I used to say please and thank you to my Alexa. I got sick of that thing because every time someone said my name, it would, I suppose, yeah, that's, oh, hello, beautiful people. Hi, Joe. How are you doing? Nice to see you. Hello. Yeah, so I just am like, come on. There's some of the stuff, because they also are like, this is where I kind of like diverge a little bit, because I think that it's kind of true, but also kind of, because they'll say like it steals from everybody, and it does kind of steal from everybody because it is trained on images and different things. So, and I'm still trying to wrap, because I do feel like it's different, but I'm trying to wrap my mind around what is the difference between somebody studying art in a book. So like a person studying art in the book and practicing and recreating it and creating stuff and working with it. I know that it's different, but I'm also like, okay, they're not recreating your work. Some things might be in your style, but it's not recreating it exactly. And I do, like I said, I do feel like it's different, but I also feel like I don't have the words to articulate how it's different. And so for me, I think that again, for personal use, for little things like profile pictures and stuff, I don't have as much of an issue with that. Now, big companies like Amazon and Google and Facebook, Meta, all that kind of stuff, should they be like using AI instead of paying artists? Fuck off. Are you kidding me? They have billions and billions of all the money. So like they have no excuse not to pay an artist. People who just want a fun like profile pic that they're going to forget about in a week, like that kind of stuff is like, we need to be more. And also they have bigger budgets for that. So that's the kind of stuff that is going to eliminate jobs. It's not people who are just like using it for a profile pic or whatever. I do pay. I don't do as much like artwork. I do some artwork. I've got some custom pieces and I love them, but I tend to do minus photography. Like I pay professional photographers. Do I still take selfies? Yeah, of course I do. And do I still sometimes use selfies for my thumbnails and post them on social media and all that kind of stuff? Of course I do. That doesn't mean that I don't also pay photographers, right? And sometimes I don't use AI to like clean up my photos, mostly because I don't know how to do it. I think, and I don't want to learn. That's the other thing. I could learn. I I just take 1,000 selfies until I get one that I like, and then that's how I do it. It's like I just go until I get one that I'm like, yeah, that'll do. And so I haven't learned how to do AI, but like if somebody takes selfies and they like learn how to fix it up with AI, I don't have that much of an issue with that. I don't think that that's as big of a problem as people want to make that. Because I think that a lot of these people, especially just for, again, for selfies, for social media, those people were not going to pay for a professional photographer to like take that selfie that they want to post on a Tuesday. So it's like we have to adapt. There's a lot of, and I hear this from YouTubers, and I hear this from YouTubers that I like, and it frustrates me. And maybe it's just because I am still a tiny fish in an enormous pond, but there have been several YouTubers that I've watched before they were monetized, and then the minute they were monetized, all they could do was complain about how they didn't get paid enough, on how it wasn't enough money. And it's like, this was all shit that you did for free. You've done this for free, sometimes for years. And then now that like monetization has opened up to you, then they're immediately like, well, I'm not going to do that style of video because I don't get paid enough to do that. And it's like, you used to do that style of video for free. What? And that's the frustration. This has gone on kind of a wandering thing, as my lives tend to do. But like, nobody asked you to do that. Nobody asked you to do this. Because when people say like YouTube is a job, that's not entirely true. YouTube is not a job because nobody asked you to do it. YouTube is like having your own business where you decide to have a business. So a job is something where you go, somebody wants something done and they want to pay somebody to do it. And so you go through whatever that process is, the hiring process. They say, this is the shit I want you to do. You say, I'll do that shit. They say, I'll pay you this much. And you say, I'll take that much. And you shake hands and everything's great. And you go do the job. That's a job. Having a small business, just because you want to have a business doesn't mean that you are entitled to customers. I could say I'm going to have a business where sorry to get gross, but like where I shit in a bag and I'm going to put a little ribbon on it and I'm going to sell them. Just because I want to sell my shit in a bag doesn't mean anybody wants to buy it. So I'm not entitled to customers just because I decided to have a business. So when people are like, well, I don't get paid enough for that, I don't get paid, and that's all this kind of, it's like, slow your roll. Because you decided to do this. So when you're like, YouTube is my job, and it's like, but you decided to make it your job. You decided that you wanted to do it, and now you're complaining that you're not getting enough from the monetization on shit that you used to do for free. That's what it is. I don't know what it is about monetization that kicks on. Please let me get to the point where I find out, right? Like I would love to reach monetization, and I appreciate all the growth that we've had, and I appreciate all the people who have supported the channel, but at some point I can't imagine, I don't know what it is that would make that flip, but there are several content creators that I have really enjoyed that like, as they've gone on, then all they can do is just complain about how they don't make enough money. They don't do enough, but they're not like treating it like a business. They're not treating it like having their own business. I won't start selling shit in a bag. I promise. I do. People tell me that I sell a lot of shit, but I don't sell actual shit. So I promise I won't do that. But it's like, just, you have to kind of treat it like a business. So if you have a store and your merchandise isn't selling, you don't get to just like go online and be like, well, I'm so mad because like I've spent all this money on inventory. Okay, did you get inventory that people want? If you've got inventory that people don't want, then your business is not going to be successful. And wanting a business does not mean you're entitled to a business. That's just the nature of having a business. And I say that as somebody who, I haven't ever opened like a true like business, but I got a lot of side hustles. My drag performance stuff is a side hustle, and it's a little bit of a business where I have to I have the regular places that I go to, but if I want to go and I want to perform in a new place, I want to perform in a new venue, I have to go and like sell my wares, right? Like I have to convince them like, hey, you should book me. This would be great. I think it would be fun. And like, and if they don't, and if you're not what is going to fit for them, if you're not what they're looking for, then they're not going to buy your shit, right? Like they're just not. And so that's just the way of the world, is like it's just the way that it is. Oh, today is Buddy's 4th birthday. Who is Buddy? Is that a youngin? Is that a fur baby with the name Buddy? I don't know. So I hope I didn't just call your child a fur baby. I apologize if I did. But happy birthday to Buddy. So it's all this, like, it's this weird entitlement. And I don't understand it from people who used to make that. Is your Aussie Doodle? Okay, good. Good. Well, happy birthday to Buddy. From people who used to do this shit for free. Like, that's the thing, is I get it, because I'm in a burnout point right now where, like, I've been trying to edit this video. My purple face, if you saw the Best of Beauty 2025, you should watch it if you haven't. But like the Best of Beauty 2025, I did that purple look with the purple foundations, and I'm editing that Get Ratchet With Me. And like, the last thing that I want to do is edit a video. Like today, I worked on it for like an hour, and I just was like, oh, I'm so sick of this. This one's going to take a while to get out. And I just have been enjoying these lives where I can just hop on with my crazy hair and in my jammies. And I'm tired. And like, editing is the least of my like desires right now. And so I'm like, I'll get it out when it's out. It's because I'm like, it's not my job, right? Like, this is a side hustle. It's fun. My drag is a side hustle. I make and sell jewelry. I haven't done that for a little while, but I've got a bunch of stuff that I'm thinking about posting soon, because I know it's getting close to Valentine's Day. And so I made a bunch of stuff and then didn't get it like photographed and ready to go for Christmas, because that's the thing, is I always like, I'm not very business minded, which is why I don't open a business. That's why I have little side hustles that are for fun, and I can do them or not do them, but I have my like job, because I'm not very business minded. Like, I'm not good at that. And I'm not saying that to be down on myself. I have lovely, wonderful skills. That is not one of them, being very business minded. And so I'm actually working on something that is kind of more of like a formal kind of business. Like, we might have to get insurance, and it weirds me out. And like, Angie is helping me out with it a little bit. And I'm like, I'm hoping that, I'm hoping that we figure it out, because I'm not business minded. I'll make sure. I have never posted them over here to YouTube, but now that I've been doing more stuff on YouTube, I do a lot on Facebook. I'm trying to divest myself of Facebook, but there is no, especially for like group organization stuff. Like, now the show that I'm directing, my life is weird. I do a lot of things. But the show that I'm directing, and we're going to start maybe doing some lives and things next week. But the show that I'm directing, like, we have a group where we put the cast into the group so we can share like inspiration, or like, here's some things to look at to kind of maybe help you drive your character creation. And like, here's some stuff that's like inspiring the set or the costumes. And there is no social media replacement for what Facebook can do. And I hate it. And I wish that somebody would bring one out, and I wish it would be viable, because I would love to be able to say that I'm logging off of Facebook for the last time and never, ever coming back. But I just can't right now. I just can't. So yeah, Janessa Jewelry will probably be coming very soon, because especially if I don't want to miss Valentine's Day, I better I'll try to do it. So maybe one of these lunch breaks, instead of doing a live, since I've been doing lots of lunch break lives, which I enjoy, and we'll still do more of those, but maybe one of the lunch breaks I will take to like photograph, and then I'll make a post on my post tab. And I'm trying to figure out if I want to like go to the trouble of putting it on my website, because I already pay a monthly fee for my website. And if you do like a shopping cart thing, then you have to pay like a fee for that. And so I'm like, do I want to do that, or do I want to? I've just been doing like, I usually post it to Facebook, and then people just pay me through PayPal or Venmo, and we figure it out that way. So I've never like done the whole like actually have like a website that's got a shopping cart. There is on janessaj.com, there is a tab for the champagne shop, and it's never been open. I've never hooked up. And in fact, Wix, they finally stopped for like 6 months. They were emailing me at least once a day to be like, customers can't check out on your website. Customers can't check out on your website. And it's like, because there's nothing to fucking buy. Like, what do you mean? Of course they can't check out. But because I had set up a shop page, in their system, it was like, oh, there's a shop, but there's no shopping cart app installed. So, but then like every day, and I was like, do you think I'm not aware of this? Like, you've emailed me every day for 6 months. Like, what is happening? Do you think like how long do you go? And apparently it's about 6 months, and then they kind of gave up. So yeah, this was very rambly, and I should probably get ready because I have to take a shower. I've got an hour now until I go to Nerd Herd, and so yeah, so we'll kind of start wrapping things up. So that was just, I just wanted, it was on my mind, it was on my brain, I was noodling around this whole idea of like, what is truth? Like, does truth matter to us anymore? Are we living in some sort of weird post-truth world? Do we care more about authenticity than we do about the truth? And why aren't they the same thing? Like, can somebody be authentic if they're not giving you like completely truthful information? Because I think they can. I think they can. That story that I told earlier about the pot cookies and all that kind of stuff is like, that's one of those stories that like, it's one of my like classic stories at a drag show. If I have something where I have a little bit longer bits of time, where I can tell a little bit longer stories, I will tell that whole story. And I will add those little embellishments where I'm not theoretically 100% telling the truth, but it's also one of the most popular stories that I have. And like, I tell the Peaches story. So it's this long story. I won't tell it again because, like I said, I got to get going here pretty soon. But basically, there was this guy I met at the I-Beam who called me Peaches, and so he was like flirting with me and trying to like. I think he showed me his, and this is the part that's true. So when I tell the story, I will tell them like part of his seduction is that he showed me his like release papers from the Fargo County Jail or Cass County Jail or whatever. And he literally did. He showed me. That's why I know his full name. And to this day, I've never forgotten it. I know his full like legal name because he showed me his like release papers from the jail. And his opening line was, I was coming off the dance floor and I'm in full drag. We'd had a show. And this is when I was a little bit thinner. And I used to just wear Lane Bryant lingerie as an outfit. It was a choice. And so I'm coming off and he like lurches off the wall and he's like, if you buy me a drink, I will talk to you. And I have always lived by the idea of bad decisions make good stories. And so that I was like, I drink for free here. So absolutely I will buy you a drink, Wesley. Let's go sit at the bar. And so like that story, like everything that I tell in that story is true. But I've moved like some of the events and the order in which things happened. I kind of changed a little bit and I kind of like moved it around to make it a better, like a clearer flowing narrative. Right. And so again, and that's one of those stories, like I have people who saw me 10 years ago and haven't been to a show since, and they'll see me like randomly at a place and they'll be like, Peaches. And so like, it's one of those things where I think that I connect authentically with an audience, but it's not 100% the truth. It's not 100% accurate. And so there are little embellishments, or I change the like order around. I create the narrative in a different way. And so I think that that's very interesting to me, is like, what is the distinction? Because I think they're related. They're maybe not, they're not in the same family. They don't live in the same house, but they're in the same zip code. They're in the same neighborhood. What is the difference between truth, like absolute truth, and authenticity? So I think that's very interesting. So I would love for people to tell me in the comments below, because we're going to wrap this up. Let me know what your thoughts are. What is the difference between authenticity and truth? What is the distinction? And does it matter? And are we living in a post-truth world? Are we living in a place where connection and authenticity, even if it's 100% not true, is our driving force? And what are the negative sides? Because now we see, because of this sort of post-truthiness and alternative facts, we live in a world where also the government feels like it's absolutely acceptable to just blatantly lie to us when we can see multiple video evidence of the fact that they're not telling us the truth. So like, what role does the truth play? So I would love to hear in the comments below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Like, what is the truth about? Does this deserve a more like structured filmed video at some point? Because I'm still noodling this around. So like, should I put in the time to like put this together? Or maybe it needs a blog post on janessaj.com. Hello, I hope you're having a lovely day. Ross Khan, welcome. Thanks for popping in. I'm just actually wrapping up. We were talking about the truth. If you wanted to catch us on the replay, we were talking about the truth versus authenticity, and what the difference is and what's the distinction. And so, yeah, so I hope everybody's doing well. While you are leaving me that comment down below, replay Crew You Rock, don't forget if you're here live to circle back around and watch the part that you missed and help us feed the algorithm. Feed me, Seymour. We love that. Leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. While you're leaving me that comment, don't forget that you can give me the thumbs up to tell me that you appreciated this video. Or if you think that I'm a blowhard, if you're one of those all AI or die, like no AI or die, whatever it is, go ahead and give me that thumbs down. It is all engagement. The algorithm isn't a picky bitch, and neither am I. And while you're down there, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, become part of the family. We would love to have you. And and hit the bell icon so you'll be notified of all future uploads. I try really hard to make sure I have at least one video or live per week. And sometimes, if you're lucky, if you're very lucky, you might even get a bonus video. Ooh, truth-orific. If you'd like to chat, banter, or commiserate between uploads, all of my social media will be linked down in the description box below, including a link to my website. Just pretend it's there, The World of Champagne at janessaj.com. Yes, thanks for joining, Ross. I appreciate that. We love having you here. And yeah, definitely check it out. Check out my channel. I'd love to have you become part of the fam. And I love and appreciate all of you who stopped by. We had a lot of our regular crew. CJ, it's always nice to see you. Alex and Joe and Mama Champagne and Grace was here. And let's see, Alex was here. Janet stepped in for a moment. She said she's going to be replay crew. Dawn was here. Let me just scroll through. If I miss anybody, I'm so sorry. You know I love and appreciate you too, but I'm just checking. Mama Champagne is here. Joe was here. I might have said people. And Ross was here for the first time. Welcome. We love having you here. So thanks everybody for stopping by. I'm gonna go get ready for Nerd Herd, and until I see you again, bye. All right, then the awkward ending of the stream. Okay, bye.